Thank you very much, and welcome to you, Modadugu, on this special event for food systems here in your home city of Hyderabad. We're still waiting for the fireside, but we'll just carry on with the chat, I think. Modadugu, you started, I believe, your career in Kolkata, and at that time, I think it was quite exciting. It would have been in the 60s, and aquaculture would hardly be recognized around the world. What was it like then in Kolkata?
When I started my aquaculture research, my family members and friends said, why the hell are you going to fisheries? What progress you have, prosperity you have there. You have many more venues there, because at that time aquaculture was not considered as a science. But only in 1970s, when the production from the seas and the rivers has gone down due to overexploitation, the need for aquaculture, just like agriculture, was felt. That's where I entered the scene in 1970s. The focus at that time in my work was, most of the research work is done in the institutions. At that time, I'm talking about research institutions, and try to take the technologies from the research institutions to the farming community. Quite often, there is a mismatch between the technologies developed in ideal conditions in the research institutions and the conditions that exist in the farming conditions, farmers' fields. So my focus in 1970 was to work with the farmer communities and develop technologies that will suit their needs, both social, economic, and cultural aspects. And in fact, 1970s, that was did an exemplary work in that one. For example, till then, in the research institution, the production was 3.2 tons per hectare of fish per year. But working with the farmers, using their agriculture byproducts and waste, we could show a production up to 5.5 tons, nearly double of what was produced in the research institutions. Initially, some people didn't believe that one, but when shown practically in the farmers' pond, they believed it. And what we call as a blue revolution now, at that time was called aquaplosion, explosion within the aqua water.
Right. So that was you doing farmer first, long before it became trendy, I think, and probably really way ahead of your time. And I think that experience took you to Southeast Asia after that time, am I correct?
Yeah, from there I moved on to Southeast Asia, Laos, Indo-Chinese countries, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, where these are Mekong River countries, where Mekong River flows all these 4 countries. And the people were getting their fish supplies from the Mekong River. But with the construction of lots of dams and embankments on the Mekong River, the fish migration has stopped, and fish production from the natural rivers has gone down. So the UN community was looking at aquaculture to replace the losses from the natural systems.
Right.
That's where I started working in Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, and developing aquaculture technologies, again, that suit to those particular regions.
So in those days, you know, it was almost accepted that we would be losing that wild harvest of fish and just simply substituting farm fish.
Yeah.
But I think we've moved on a bit since then, in that we realize they're really closely linked. And the sort of work that you did once you left Southeast Asia, came back to Bangladesh, really took that to its heart, didn't it?
Yes, from there I moved on to Bangladesh. As you know, Bangladesh, nearly 2/3 of the country goes underwater for about 5 to 6 months during the monsoon time. There was a plenty of water, but there is a dearth of fish. And people in Bangladesh like to have fish for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The need is much more. The resources were there, but the fish was not there. So again, as you know, Bangladesh is one of the least developed countries. Poverty is so high, hunger is so high, but resources were lying there but not utilized. So again, we were looking at going to the farming community and understanding their needs and develop a technology that could be adopted and practiced by them. So one of my problem was, as a scientist, to know what is the technological needs are there, but working in the grassroots level, as you all have been working with the communities now, is not that easy, because in a new country, I don't know the social, economic, and other aspects of the communities. The fisheries department in that country, I'm talking about the 1980s, has not developed, but there is a very good non-governmental organizations there who have been working with at grassroots level, so they understand the needs and constraints of the farming community. So we joined it together and started developing technologies that could suit. One example, I can give an example. In 1986, when I went to that country, there were nearly 1 million backyard ponds or ditches, because it's a low-lying area of Bangladesh. People dig the soil, make an elevated platform, and construct a house on that. With the result, behind the house, there is a small ditch or a pond, which is used for multi-purpose. So some of them are seasonal, retaining water 4 to 6 months, and some are perennial. And we were looking at, when I went there into that country, they were all lying fallow because they could not find a fish species or a system that could be practiced in those conditions. So we looked at new varieties of fish which could reach the market size in 4 to 6 months' time. And we could show the farming community within 4 to 6 months' time, they can produce 2 tons per hectare, mostly using the kitchen waste. No external inputs are involved.
So new innovations that you brought in, but you didn't come in with a sort of set idea, with a pre-prepared technology. And at that time, I think that was quite normal. We raise fish in this way in square ponds, and we have feed that we feed the fish. You actually went in and looked and said, well, what have farmers got? Hey, they've got ditches, they've got water in, they've got fish in. Why don't we work with them? And I think at the time, that was really quite unusual.
And in fact, we quite often learned lots of things from the farming community. We as scientists think that we know everything, but those farmers, they have been working for ages together, the problems and all that. So when we went into the field and started working with them, our understanding was that they grow the fish in their backyard pond and will consume and improve their nutrition. But at the end of 6 months, we found out 80% of the fish they were producing, they were selling in the market. The reason was, there is a high-value species they were growing in that one. They cannot afford to consume that high-value species. So they were selling what they were producing in the market and buying cheap marine dry fish, in fact, which is more nutritious because the whole fish is eaten. So that's where an understanding, working with the communities, we can learn a lot of things,
So really, food systems up front, we've heard this before, farmers selling and actually engaging in a strategy to meet their nutritional needs.
In fact, indirectly, their nutrition is improved because they were buying this cheap fish market and consuming it, their nutrition has improved. And also lots of benefit has taken place which we were not envisaged when we started the program. Subsequently, what we thought is that if we could involve the women, in that country, women at that time in 1980s were not going out to the field and working. They were, for various religious restrictions or whatever it is, they were mostly restricted to the home. The family sizes are very, very big with 4 to 6 children, husband, man, and one man making a earning that's not good for the family, and the nutritional status was very poor. We thought if we could engage the women in this small-scale aquaculture, which is not very highly technical, then we started again in cooperation with the non-governmental organization. It was not easy. First, we have to form the groups, motivate them, train them, and get the needed loans, credit from the non-governmental organizations and monitor them. And in fact, within 2 to 3 years' time, though we started with a few villages, it spread like a wildfire to all the entire country. The benefits were many more. The income of the household has increased. The nutrition of the household has increased. And another thing that what we have not envisaged initially was it has empowered the women. Till then, the man was the master in the households. In poor families, in that communities, the man is served the food. Then after the food is served to the children, and the last comes the woman, if at all anything is left. In many households, we have seen that just the rice and salt that they were eating. There was nothing more money. But when the woman started earning additional money along with her husband, she had a voice in the family. She can dictate. Before that, the children were being sent as laborers to the agriculture fields and all that. But once the woman became an earning member, she started sending the children to the school. So there was an empowerment actually that has led to that with the earning power that women have been involved in these household activities.
So really, you heard it here first, fish as a force for social change came to Bangladesh. And I'm sure there will be other memories such as that from people who've worked in that area. Certainly for myself, I've seen massive changes in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
From a point where in the mid-80s, really everyone ate wild fish, and now more than 50% of that country's catch, as it were, comes from aquaculture. But looking forward a little bit, you were Assistant Deputy Director of the World Fish Organization, the CGIAR organization responsible for fish. And at that time, they were developing new, improved strains of a tropical fish, tilapia, that I think you were very instrumental in introducing and popularizing in Bangladesh and indeed throughout the world.
So if you look at the production increases in the crops, it is because of genetic improvement that has taken place, whether it's wheat or it is rice or any other thing. But if you come to the fish, you know, nearly 91% of aquaculture production in the world comes from Asia. And there was not a single species of fish which has been improved. In fact, it's been proved actually due to continuous inbreeding, what we call it, using the same parents generation after generation, there is a depression and the growth has declined. So we were looking at the World Fish Center, how could we improve the production of the fish, and we have taken tilapia as a test species. In fact, when we started working with the tilapia, some people commented, this is a poor man fish, an international organization, why is it working with a useless fish? But we said CGIAR and the World Fish is meant for the poor people. See, this is a hardy fish, can reach to table size within 3 to 4 months without much additional input. So that is the reason that was selected. Now you see after 3 decades, it is the second largest international traded fish species in the world. So that has made a lot of changes in the world. So the research was done in the Philippines. But again, once the strain has been developed, that has been distributed to different countries in Asia and now subsequently also into Africa. And each of the countries have developed their own program so that this fish can adapt themselves to the conditions prevailing in those particular countries.
So, but we still see tilapia actually fulfilling a whole range of roles, I think, nutritionally, and partly because it's an animal that freely breeds. Once it's established in rural communities, it doesn't need constant replacement with new seed. And that's been one of the highlights, I think, because when you've looked at how these fish get established in supporting livelihood, supporting nutrition, having that easy availability of the juveniles is really important.
Right. In fact, if these farmers grow the tilapia in their pond, they can take 2 or 3 fish every day for their kitchen, you see. So that is an easy to grow fish. And it doesn't require any expensive inputs for feeding or fertilizing the waters or anything like that. So it's a very hardy fish because now the fish are being affected by the diseases, just like in the crop sector. But compared to other types of fish, tilapia is a very hardy fish and not that much susceptible to diseases.
But I think we all agree it's not a silver bullet. And as we look around the world of rural Africa and Asia, people generally rely on a whole range of different aquatic animals. And I think that's really desirable because they all bring something different to the diet. It's not like comparing fish with chicken. There's many types of fish and other aquatic animals that bring different micronutrients to the table. But I think another issue that's often critiqued in terms of aquaculture is it's a rich man's game. And again, I think your experience in Bangladesh where you looked at how poorer people could access aquatic resources through leasing was a really interesting development, really, and it's been mirrored around the world now.
But I look at the fish as a poor man's diet. Because if you look at the communities living alongside the rivers or in the ponds and all that, they catch the fish. Now, if you look at the statistics, actually aquaculture statistics is not that reliable because there is no way of collecting the statistics for aquaculture production. So actually, when you compare to the beef or pork or chicken, in most of the communities, price of chicken is much less. And also, as your research has done, Dave, that has shown that is high in omega fatty acids. For example, a small fish like called as moline, available in Bangladesh and now introduced in many other countries, it's about 2 inches long. That is very high in vitamin A. For example, in case of Bangladesh, a study has indicated if all the ponds that are present in Bangladesh produce just 10 kilograms per year of this fish, you don't need any supplementary vitamin A that is being distributed at that time by the USAID. Likewise, there is a fish in Vietnam called Mekong flying bar. It's very high in iron content. So in areas where there is anemic, the fish is being served during the midday meals in the high schools. So there are fish, the fish is much better in nutrition perspective as compared to some of the beef or pork or poultry.
And I think we all agree, I mean, I think most nutritionists agree that the high bioavailability is really an important benefit in fish. Well, I think we better wrap up. Great talking to you again after meeting, I think, in, when was it, 1981 or something like that, in a rice field in northeast Thailand. I owe you a debt because you were, to me, someone who were out there really working and learning from farmers for their benefit. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you.